Yeah. Welcome, everybody. We want to kick off our regularly scheduled Urban Renewal Agency meeting this evening. It's September 8th, 6 p.m., and we will ask our secretary to call the roll, please.
Commissioner Porter?
Here.
Commissioner Doty?
I'm here.
Commissioner Warwick? Here. Commissioner Brooks? Commissioner Cole?
Here.
Commissioner Allgood?
Here.
Commissioner Moore?
Here.
Very good. As always, are there any conflicts of interest with any of the commissioners in regard to anything on tonight's agenda? And seeing none, we will move down to public comments. Members of the public can address the commission on any items that are not on our agenda. Would anybody like to speak this evening? Okay, that takes us down to the consent calendar. Do we have a disposition as to what to do with that?
Mr. Chair,
Ms. Warwick?
I move we approve the consent calendar as printed.
Very good. We have a motion by Ms. Warwick. We have a second.
Second?
Second by Mr. Doty. Any comments? Would the secretary call the roll?
Warwick?
Yes.
Doty?
Yes.
Cole?
Yes.
Allgood?
Yes.
Moore?
Yes.
Very good. It brings us to our update reports. Our first update report is with RRC Contractors with Mr. Derek Cooper. Do we have anybody on the line waiting to speak this evening? Okay, very good. Second report would be from Sean Mabon from TS Developments. Well, this never happens.
That's very rare.
Okay, very good. Third update would be from Base Layer, District 26. Do we have a report from them this evening? Okay, very good. Shane, can you hear us?
I can. Can you hear me okay?
We can. We're about ready to see you, too.
Oh, wonderful. My camera, my laptop does not work. I haven't been able to figure that part out. So you may hear my voice. Anyway,
Thank
first
you.
of all, I apologize. Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, I'm not able to attend in person tonight. I have some family obligations that I just wasn't able to get out of this evening, but I wanted to take some time. This is Shane Jimenez. I'm one of the principal owners of District 26, and good to see all your faces. I wanted to just go over some of the things that we were able to accomplish here recently. We were able to get our lot split and lot line adjustment recorded last week, and that was a big milestone for us. We're also working on vacating a portion of Green Road as our access will come through the Spring Lake extension by the Maverick, just behind the Maverick and to the north into our property. So we're working through that right now. I want to give just some market demand updates to you as well, specific to our property, but also kind of what we're seeing in the general market as well. But we've been in some discussions with several business owners with requirements everywhere from 3 acres to 60 acres that would build and occupy buildings at District 26. We've made a proposal to one of those groups, the larger group, and their brokers, I think, in Sicily for a couple of weeks, and we're hopeful that we'll hear back from them when he returns. And then we've had some discussions with a couple of well-known developers in the area as well. The consensus that we've heard there is market demand for lease space. There's quite a bit of it in the market, and they're hopeful to get those leases, those spaces leased up. And once they do, then they'd be more inclined to want to continue discussions with us. I would say their names, you'd recognize them. They're in the market already. Demand overall from an end user perspective, I would say has picked up in general over the last 30 to 45 days. Certainly in our office, and we're a decent sized brokerage firm at Lee & Associates, so I would expect that the overall, general market's seeing the same. But I would say that most of the discussions with owners that we've had, they would really like to own their own property and build their own buildings. I would say a good chunk of those folks are looking to expand their businesses. They're already in the Treasure Valley they're out of space and they would like to expand. So I think that's, good for the city of Caldwell and good for the Urban Renewal Agency as well. Some of these businesses are new to the area. They're looking at multiple locations with some limited options for their size requirements, and Caldwell is certainly on that list. I know one group in particular has been in discussions with Stephen Jenkins, and he's doing a good job of educating those folks on what Caldwell has to offer. So those are my primary updates, and I'm open for any questions.
Very good. Thank you, Shane. Questions for Shane? Mr. Moore?
Mr. Chairman, Shane, thanks for tuning in with us here today. Question, and I've asked you this before, as it came out in the paper this week that the proposed women's facility jail, county jail, it's looking to go in across the street there. How does that relay into any conversations that you have with prospective applicants, clients?
That has not come up in discussions so far with these folks. I think they're doing kind of their preliminary homework, almost like a pre-due diligence of the area. I'm not sure, beyond that, maybe Stephen Jenkins might be able to speak to that a little better than me. But from my perspective, it hasn't been an obstacle for us so far.
How does that look in the future?
Well, I think the more risk that businesses and folks have to take when they're making sizable investments, they're going to weigh those against other opportunities throughout the Treasure Valley. And so my sense of it is that it will come up in discussions at some point, whether that moves them, to a different area or not. I'm just not sure.
Hey, thank you, Shane. I appreciate it. No more
Of
questions.
course, and as I learn more, I'll share that with you.
Any other questions for Shane this evening? Very good. Thank you, Shane. We appreciate your time.
Of course, thank you very much.
Our next update report comes from 7th and Main. Dean, I think he's on the line. Good evening, Dean.
Good evening. How are you guys?
Doing well, thanks.
Good. Not a lot of updates on my end. Outside of I got a haircut because my son learned to play golf, and he's a much better golfer than I am. But all in all, the project there is doing well. We continue to stand by with the hopes that we could work with the adjoining property on phase 2. Again, I think as I mentioned before, it's kind of wait till the end of this year, and at that point, hopefully have a better plan of attack with some understanding on timing from you folks and staff. Additionally, had an initial conversation with Stephen. I'm not sure if he's given you an update about 7th Street, as we've now opened all of the retail along that side. We have a couple areas that were incomplete associated with work that didn't get completed with the kind of 7th Street plan. But at this point, hope is to kind of work with staff and learn more information and come back to you folks, I believe, with a plan of attack to get those areas completed. Outside of that, building's performing well, and again, continue to be excited to look at new opportunities in the area.
Very good. Thank you, Dean. Questions for Dean? I'm not seeing any. We appreciate your time. Thanks for checking in.
Very good. Yep. Have a great evening. Thank you.
Our next update report is from Carrie. Good evening, Carrie. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Good.
This is on behalf of Wolfpack and Mr. Dancer. I do have an update. We did just receive a building permit to complete the the TI improvements for the existing space next to Happy Teriyaki. So we're really excited about that. We do not have a tenant. I'd like to acknowledge that the engineering department worked very hard on the impact fee discussion that we had a few meetings ago, and resolved that issue for us. And so we did reach back out to our business that was looking to locate there. At this time, they have not committed to coming back, but the owner of the property is very committed to improving the property and getting it to a space that we hope is maybe more in a more marketable format so that when people see the space, they can envision what's happening there. And there's no update yet on the grass lot. Like I've said before, he's waiting for the existing space to fill before he works in the second space. So with that.
Very good. Thank you, Carrie. Questions for Carrie? Mr.
Just a
Holden?
quick question, Carrie. The remodeling that you're doing, is it directed towards food service? Is that the idea, or is there?
It is going to have water and sewer, and it will have a small like kitchenette area, but not a full food service capability. So if we did get a food service tenant, they would still be responsible to put in a hood. But at this point, the floor would be in. They are putting in a concrete floor, except for one area that will have more of a false floor, so that if we need to put in for a kitchen, there will be an area that we won't have to take out concrete. So kind of planning for both options to make it flexible.
Cool, thank you.
All
Mr.
right.
Moore?
Mr. Chairman, Carrie, thanks for coming tonight. So what is the short term and the long term of the little grassy knoll there, the little grassy lot?
Short term is it's going to be maintained. And he is maintaining it in a condition. He has allowed, whether it's been City or Destination Caldwell, to use the space for his various events. We have had a sign on that property for a very long time. We did just, I switched brokerages and we did just switch the sign. We've done some heavy marketing as of recently on the property. We're going to do another push when we get the tenant improvements finished on the other structure. But long-term vision is to meet have compliance with the development agreement. We would really like to find something that complements Trolley Square with the entertainment district that it is, that benefits downtown as a whole, but that's long-term.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions for Carrie? Very good. Thank you,
Thank
Carrie.
you.
Appreciate it. Next update report is from the Canyon County Fair. Ms. Sinner, how are you?
Good.
Good.
It's September. I'm
Yes.
better. So, and I want to thank you all for your patience and my presence. I believe I was requested to be here in August, and I do not go home to Iowa for Christmas, but I do go home for the Iowa State Fair, so that's why I couldn't join you in August. So I haven't been here since March. I'm going to review a little bit about what we talked about in March and then tell you the update since then. I proposed a concept for a project in March, and this was in the area adjacent to Gabiola Field. It's along the fence line behind Taco Time, Stella's, Central Rent to Own. There's another, and there's a strip mall in there as well. There's a dirt hill. The idea is that the dirt would be removed, repurposed onto Gabiola Field. Gabiola Field is not level. There is standing water. When I wrote this email to city staff on June 10th, there was standing water. There's standing water again there today. A concrete retaining wall would be installed with landscaping along the fence line. Other than the concrete retaining wall, the area will remain in grass. The intent is to make the area usable for all entities. The gate off of County Fair Avenue would be able to be used as another access point to Gabiola Field. And when I presented it in March, I had already talked with Juan Villa at O'Connor Fieldhouse, Caldwell Events Center. He likes the idea. I had spoken with city leadership as well. Since then, I have talked with the rodeo, who is definitely in favor. This would open up additional flat grass parking for the rodeo. And then I have a meeting scheduled that I'm hosting at the center that includes the rodeo and the college. Later on in September, we're going to walk the site just to make sure we're addressing any concerns that any stakeholder has. The next steps that I presented in March were to get approval from the city. And we've talked with city staff and city leadership a couple times, a lot of back and forth via email like June 9th and 10th. And then Stephen Jenkins did reach out to me regarding scheduling something in front of city council. That was mid-July time, which isn't a great time for me. And then to include the rodeo in that presentation, August isn't a great time either. So that's kind of where we're at right now. The other thing that I I believe I had reported in August via email, was I was going to review our original approval, for the projects that were originally included in the URA approval, and those that are not completed. And those include a retaining wall that we budgeted at $125,000, and then a concrete pad and power connection for a concert venue at $55,000, which isn't necessarily something, it was a concept we had 5 years ago, isn't something that, things have changed since then, and so that the plan has changed. The other thing that was approved was a digital sign along Blaine Street with power for $50,000. So, and those total up to $230,000. Raylan, I'm not exactly sure where we're at, but we have roughly $230,000 left. 218, close. Any questions?
Okay, thank you. Questions for Diana? Mr. Allgood?
Yeah, so I'm confused a little bit, the standing water issue. Would this I don't remember all the details from March. Would this project eliminate that, improve that? How would that deal with that standing water issue?
So what we're trying to do is, so there's, I would love to have this meeting on the site for you all to walk
Yeah.
it. Basically, there's a hill right across the creek, and it's kind of behind it. I mean, the area doesn't get utilized because it can't, but there's a hillside, and
Yeah, I'm
so
familiar with that.
we would remove that hillside, and then we would level Gabbiola Field to address, there's some high spots and there's some low spots. And honestly, I believe that's from when construction of the expo happened and when those bridges got placed.
Okay.
I think it was in better shape before
Oh,
that happened. I really
gotcha.
do.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Okay, very good. Thank you for that report.
Thank you.
Next update is from Destination Caldwell. Ms. Warren, good evening.
Hi, Danae Warren with Destination Caldwell. Good evening, Commissioners. I'm just here to provide a quick update report on wayfinding. And so as most of you remember, we installed and manufactured, fabricated, and project managed a wayfinding sign for downtown Caldwell, which introduces guests that may not know where historical landmarks are, where the plaza is, different businesses into downtown. And so we have a very large signage plan. And we worked with Roger Brooks as our consultant. He's working with our downtown master plan and planning over 1,500 acres, as you know. So we were able to walk with his team and show him the wayfinding map and show him the signs, and he was very impressed with that. And so originally our plan was to work with Streets Department to handle the installation of the wayfinding posts and signs. There's over 40 posts that needed to be installed. And we had to get new posts because they weren't, the ones that we have downtown aren't current weight and wind bearing. And so those posts that would hold the appropriate amount of weight have the new signs installed on them, but there's about 27 signs that don't have new signs. So hopefully you've been seeing some of the new signs pop up, and Streets was really great about immediately installing those that they could. But the other signs are still in boxes because it takes a lot more to install. There's dig lines, things like that. And so we had budgeted to pay Streets for the work, but with their current workload, as you've seen, lots of construction going on in Streets in the city of Caldwell, they simply don't have the bandwidth to take on another project right now. So they were great about the first phase. That was pretty simple. The next phase is a little bit more intense. So I've spoken with Rob McDonald as well as Ray Lynn. And so we're not asking for more money. There's already $100,000, a bit around there. Raylan can get you the exact number to install, and we'd like to shift that to a third-party vendor so we can complete the project. And so this would allow us to use the remaining allocated funds and, most importantly, get the wayfinding signage up and serving the community. And so no extra outside cost of the budget to Urban Renewal has its budgeted money. It simply moves the project to a third party to expedite the process. So we haven't moved forward in that. We wanted to bring that before you and also make sure we're covering our bases because it is about $100,000. And so with Raylan here, would we need to put that out up for RFP? We have gotten some bids just to see how much it would cost to install those 27 signs. So,
Raylan, do you want to speak to that?
So because Destination Caldwell is not a government entity, they just have to follow their own purchasing process. So I appreciate getting the bids because that does help with cost comparison.
so it sounds like we wouldn't have to go out to RFP for that. And so hopefully the next time I speak with you, there'll be a budgeted item on this and I can come give that final updated report. And then the signs will be installed.
Thank you. Mr. Allgood.
Cool. I'm just really hoping they can be done before the winter activities. The lights come on and all that. You feel fairly confident about that?
We can push for that. So we've been talking to vendors. I've walked the signage plan with a couple of the vendors. We put it out to bid just to make sure that we were going to be within budget. And it's possible, but no promises.
Can I ask one more question?
You may. Sure.
This is totally off the subject, but how have our downtown numbers been? Do you know?
Yeah, that's a great question. We are up about 3,000 guests over the summer, and so we've increased some of our programming. We're doing Shakespeare, actually. We just got done with Taste of Caldwell Harvest Festival. I know some of you were there. Thanks for coming. I believe the first time we've done Shakespeare on the plaza this weekend, and that's free to the community. So yeah, we've really increased programming and about 3,000 guests up for the summer, so we're excited about that.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions?
Mr. Moore?
Mr. Chairman, Danae, thanks for coming tonight. So an ETA, we're going to see you next when? When do you think we'll see you next? When do you think we'll have this thing out? Because how many years have we been waiting for
Yeah,
not 27 signs, but for the whole thing to close out?
sure.
And I'm kind of with the gentleman on my right here. How are we going to get this thing done before the crowd starts moving in, even though people are finding their way?
Sure.
Right?
Yeah, we do have, we have temporary pedestrian banners, and we do have a lot of interior signs put up. And so the other ones are more exterior motorist type signage and installation. So there's some wayfinding up. So my hope would be 3 to 6 months, but sometimes we push vendors as much as we can, but there's things that we run into that are out of our control with dig lines or, property lines. And so that's my guess. So we could always push for Winter Wonderland, but I'm not quite sure we'll make that deadline.
Thank you.
Yep.
Mr. Doty?
Just one more, Mr. Chair, thank you. Just because Mr. McDonald's in the crowd and maybe people that'll view this later or it's difficult to see, I'm going to take his silence as he concurs. Does that sound good? All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Doty. Any other questions for Danae? Very good. Thank you for the explanation. Our next updater's report is from ArchNexus and Mr. Adam Garcia. Good evening, Adam.
Good evening, Commissioners. Glad to be back to give you guys an update of where things are at. So first of all, as you guys know, we've been coordinating very closely with Roger and his team. Bob, who is Roger's partner, lives in Salt Lake City, so we had an opportunity to meet with him in our office in Salt Lake City in person and did a nice little charrette and make sure we're on the same page. So that was a pleasure. It was great to have him there. On the other notes, the other meetings I want to mention that we've had since the last report was August 19th, we met with the College of Idaho, David and Nicole and Reagan. We're in part of that meeting. It was very, very productive. Roger was also included in that meeting. So the objective of that meeting is how do we get students from that location to this location? And so we'll have that in our report, and so will Roger. Other meeting we had was on the 3rd of September, and that was with all this, we try to get all the department leads from the city involved in that meeting, but we got a good chunk of them. It was a very, very productive meeting. The outcome of that meeting was really to understand history of certain properties and relations to other organizations, and kind of what the use of certain properties were, and kind of also the history of some of the deals that were done back then. We want to be, of course, very conscious of kind of duplicating that in our study as well, make sure we're not going off course there. But that was a very good meeting. It was great to have Stephen and Ophelia as part of that as well. And then we're finalizing our outreach, and our outreach meeting is actually set for September 25th, which I understand today is also kind of in conflict with the political venue you guys are having, I believe. So we'll take a look at that to see if it is worth changing. But typically, it's really the public that attends that, so we'll probably stay on course on that. Just as we're nearing our deadline, which is the end of September, beginning of October, to get our report done. But I believe we have all our information intact now, and we're now just kind of putting it all together into our documents. So we've been making a great effort to keep Jim involved in most of our meetings to make sure we're on the right track and we're getting the correct information to you guys. So
Very good.
that's really it for now.
Thank you, Adam. Any questions for Mr. Ogden?
I got to keep it going.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was just curious, Adam, have there been any big surprises? I mean, of all this people coming and talking to you and all the outreach you've done, has there been anything that just like caught you off guard?
No, actually, you know, whether it's public servants, whether it's the public or even business professionals, it seems like everybody's on the same page. And really what it is, the number one thing, of course, is safety on that side, you know, and then the other one is just, you know, just the convenience of being able to have basic things in that area, you know, shopping, stores, that kind of thing. And the other one is just entertainment. But the bigger thing has always been circulating around kids. So, you know, just something for kids in that area so they can feel part of the community. So other than that, I think a lot of it is just everybody's on the same page in the city, which that's probably the most surprising thing, but I think everybody wants the same thing. So it was good to hear that.
Well, thank you.
Yep.
Ms. Warwick?
Hi, Adam. I've heard it come up in either the last city council meeting or the one before that Roger Brooks kind of hadn't been consulted on this, and it sounds like you're bringing him into some meetings. Can you tell us what he said about creating this urban renewal area? What he thinks about it?
Oh, so Roger and our team meet weekly, and then we also send emails throughout the week as well, so we're constantly, you know, coordinating. So as far as this area, we meet about our feasibility study, and then we talk about different land uses, and then his ideas and our ideas, and then we, of course, sync those together. And so the information that we presented to the department leaders is a lot of that combined information. And so, but other than that, yeah, we talk almost daily, yeah, with Roger Brooks.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Mr. Moore?
Mr. Chairman, Adam, thanks for coming tonight. Appreciate it. Thanks for the updates. The conversation, I'm going to kind of piggyback what Committeeman Warwick said. The conversations that you might have had with Roger Brooks on development, specifically the 5th and Chicago development, any of that kind of, can you give us any kind of dialogue or any communication that was talked about on his perception, anything that it might be positive, negative, anything like that, or any other development?
Yeah, so everything's been positive, just to let you know. And the biggest focus for us has always been Chicago and 5th. And for us, it just makes sense that 5th be a major focus. In fact, in our report, we'll have a series of priorities and for what we hear from the public, and 5th Street is one of those. And twofold. One is it's an easy access off the freeway for that area there. Not only that, it really ties in the west end of the downtown area. But also, it's a wide road. There's businesses there that need to get cleaned up or help being cleaned up. And so the money would be well used there. And then not only that, our coordination with Roger and Bob is we have a beautiful boulevard kind of designed for an intent there and our ideas there. And then also just kind of understanding kind of the land use for those areas. But we also take in consideration possible purchases that some folks are looking at in those areas. And so we're allocating land uses for those uses to help them through that. But yeah, it's been a major focus. And as far as Chicago, we understand the connection between Centennial and 10th Street. So we're working and making an effort on designing that so it's pedestrian friendly.
Yeah. A couple of weeks ago, I had dialogue with Roger, and he presented to us, and just a little bit of that 5th Street there.
Give you a little taste?
Yeah, it was really nice to see what could be there. So,
Yeah, exactly. It gets you pretty excited, and
Yeah.
but you know, as things go on, developers come in, ideas change, but it's a good roadmap to have.
Yeah,
So,
I like how he's got the different things labeled and kind of named for those areas. So I think it's going to be great.
yeah. it
Thank
will
you.
be. Any other questions?
Any other questions for Adam? Adam, one of the things that pops up in the chatter now and then is some people's concern that if that part of our city becomes improved and the term that they use is gentrification, that as property values go up, those that need that affordability of housing the most are going to be priced out of it. How do you see that?
That is a concern. In fact, that was a concern from the get-go. Ultimately, you just can't get away from that, but what can help is just how quick that happens. And as we know, development like this is a long, long process, so it should give folks the ability, at least give them some time to prepare for that. But, when these things happen, it's just not overnight. So I think that kind of helps out there, but also it gives people the ability to build some sort of affordable housing, hopefully. And that's our intent as far as what we put together, is to kind of balance that out as well. So, it's been, like I said, since the beginning of this, that's always been a concern. But unfortunately, it's just something you can't really get away from if you're trying to improve an area.
Mr. Moore?
Mr. Chairman, one last question. Adam, the community outreach, is that going to be something that's similar to what we had Memorial Weekend down here, or is it going to be something at the library?
Yeah.
Or is it going to be something similar to what was at Bob Jenkins' place on Main? What are you guys thinking?
Yeah, so the first one we had at the library was more of an interactive one. This one will be more of an update of where we're at and what we're doing. Really, the message we're trying to get across from the public is that this is a concept, and to make sure they're comfortable that it's not set in stone and it's not going to happen tomorrow is really what that's at. And not only that, that we listened. So we want to provide and update that group. Hopefully, it's the same group, and even more people to let them know that, hey, we listened. This is what we're thinking, and this is what we're proposing to the CURA, and see where it goes from there. But we feel pretty good about it. We stay in touch with most of the public as far as getting ideas, particularly with business leaders there. And so we would like to have them all attend and see what we provided based on the information they gave us.
One last one that just came to mind. So any type of informational update for folks that live down here that might better educate them on maybe what's coming, what might happen with the worry that, somebody's going to be put out because our taxes are going to go up, things are going to increase, are going to, make changes. Is there anything that is going to be a part of those meetings to maybe rest some of those minds that are thinking, gosh, we've got a gentrification issue that gosh, what are we going to do with mom or grandmother or people that have been down there a while?
Right. That did come up in the last one we had, or the first one we had, because we have that one and this one. Of course, we did some farmers market stuff. But that did come up, and it's the same message I just gave to you guys about it being a process and taking a while for it to happen. And, just those avenues, but, it really comes down to time and really how long it takes for it to happen. But we certainly can try to address that at the next one as well. But it's hard to kind of get that information out to that group just because it's a very blue-collar working group, and they're not just easily accessible. They all work. It's hard to get them to the library to attend these, or even get the message out to them that we're having these meetings.
So in those meetings, there will be questions asked, right?
Yes. Oh, yeah. Oh,
To
yeah.
them?
Yeah, and Jim attended one of those, and we make it very interactive. In fact, the purpose of those meetings is to ask questions, or else we really can't put a report together without those questions.
Yeah, well, the one that I went to that you were at Bob Jenkins's, that was all irrigation.
Yeah, and that one
went down to a deep rabbit hole.
Yeah, and that one was put on by Roger, and so I don't think he was prepared for that as well. And so we took lessons from that, and we kind of structured it a little differently to talk about other things. And we actually talked about that as well, to kind of put that to rest at the beginning of the meeting, and we focused on things that really mattered at the time, so.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you, Adam.
Yep.
Mr. Allgood?
One more quick. Adam, would you just give me the date, time, and everything of that next meeting, please?
Yeah, so we're scheduled for September 25th at 6:30 at the library, and that's the big meeting room. And we did put out a flyer, so
Thank you.
we'll circulate that to this group and also city council. So,
All right. Thank you. That's all I need.
okay.
Very good. Thank you, Adam. Very good
Thank you,
report.
guys.
Thank you. Brings us to our first item of old business, the update on the possible LID funding infrastructure for the north area. Welcome, Stephen.
Chairman, Commissioners, thank you for allowing me to provide this update tonight. And as you guys know, there has been a steady request of infrastructure improvements in the north allocation area. This LID approach is an attempt to attack that head-on. So within my discussions with property owners that are in and around that urban renewal area, I just want to provide a general update of what's been taking place. And as you guys know, we started this district in 2021, so it's been a little bit of a momentum push to get where we need to be increment-wise for the agency to start putting infrastructure in the ground and supporting these developments, future developments, with the necessary infrastructure like water and sewer and road systems and things like that. One option, of course, is LID. We've laid out a few options. I've discussed this pretty heavily with Ray Lynn and Mark Hilty as well. We've also talked to our finance partner to just work out a plan for what makes the most sense here. The LID seemed to be the most cost-effective or expeditious path forward. LID would allocate the cost of agreed-upon improvements across all the property owners where the infrastructure impacts would be created. To the extent that the improvements were aligned with the urban renewal plan, when increment comes in, these certain expenses, infrastructure-wise, would be eligible for reimbursement. So if property owners agree to be a part of the LID, essentially that allows us to move forward with this, then bond for the LID, and then we would design and construct the improvements for the infrastructure, and then move forward with the plan as laid out, as you guys already know. I had conversations early on with Mr. Ted Caldwell, who owns the Canyon Springs RV out there. He's planning on an expansion of the RV park currently. He's the one that was impacted probably most dramatically as it relates to the infrastructure improvements that were proposed. And you all might have recognized that in the previous meeting when Rob laid out the plan for the LID improvements as a whole. Mr. Caldwell exhibited some hesitancy towards the LID initially. I explained it as he would assume the assessments, and you guys know it's typically over a 10-year period where these LID assessments would be expanded, and then they'd be amortized over that 10-year span. I incorrectly explained it to Mr. Caldwell as he would assume the assessments early on, and then the agency could possibly come in at a later point and then assume the assessments from that point forward. I then clarified, actually this afternoon with Mr. Caldwell, that the plan for the agency would be to reimburse Mr. Caldwell for the assessments that he would assume early on in the process. And then as increment comes in, we would reimburse him and then take on the assessments from that point forward. Hopefully I'm clarifying or explaining that properly. But ultimately, Mr. Caldwell would pay up front. He'd be reimbursed. He wouldn't have to pay out of pocket. I think that clarity was needed for him. He received that information today, of course, and I think he has more confidence going into the process. I do plan to sit down with him. He's in town here, I think tomorrow. I'm going to sit down with him and just go over the plan as a whole so that he sees the proposed improvements and what that process entails. By next month, we should have a lot more clarity as far as where Mr. Caldwell is at in the process. I also spoke to Mr. Miguel Gotti and the District 26 team, and I know Santiago is here to help clarify if needed. But ultimately, there was concern around the economy and where things are at. You all heard from Mr. Jimenez today with the District 26 team that things are pretty fluid in the economy. For the need for industrial space is rather lackluster as it relates to speculative space. So that was in question. They also have users that are looking for different acreage totals. So if there's a situation where a road is built out through the LID process and a large user comes in that needs, let's just say 60 acres, and that configuration of the road is impacted, there could be some problems with the transaction at that point. So they're a little wary of the process because of the uncertainty of where things could go. So I think just more time and more discussions are needed with them in particular. So what I'd recommend, and I talked to some of our development team members this morning about it, but just focusing on the south edge of the LID infrastructure improvements that are being proposed. And I wish I had a map laid out for you all, but essentially everything from Highway 2026 south, so Ted Caldwell's area, all the way to Centennial Way over there. So all those improvements, water line, sewer line, road improvements, I think that would be the focal point because, again, of the fluidity of what District 26 is working with the prospects that they're having discussions with. So I hope I explained that okay, and Santiago can certainly correct me if I'm inaccurate in my statements, but ultimately that's where I'm at with the conversations. I think by next month we'll have a lot more clarity on the property owners and their willingness to participate in the LID, but it is a good strategy for us, and I think it's the one that makes the most sense at this point in time, according to staff. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Very good. Thank you, Stephen. Questions for Steve? Mr. Moore?
Mr. Chairman, Stephen, thanks for showing up here tonight. I appreciate it. Thanks for this update. So when will we see some illustrated numbers, some illustrated ideas of what these LID numbers and what everything's going to occur?
Yeah, Chairman, Commissioner Moore, I'm going off of what Rob had shared through his presentation previously. That has not changed much at all, and I think those estimates were based on pretty recent projects in the city of Caldwell. So although they're not exactly precise, they're pretty close to what's actual in terms of the market. And of course, that could shift based on where things go in the future. But yeah, those numbers are pretty close to where things are at today.
Okay, and I have a hard time kind of remembering those numbers, but I just want to hope we see something presented to us that are affirmative numbers, and we have a better idea, because I remember that presentation, and I'm a little vague with it. My next question is, and not to go off subject here, but any discussion with Ted Caldwell about the women's facility, the jail that's going in across the street from him? Did he make mention of anything that might be affecting his business, or anything that might be good, bad, or indifferent with that project going in?
Yeah, Chairman, Commissioner Moore, he did express reservations about the possibility of that facility coming in. He's investing quite a bit of money into the area, as you know, pretty actively. He has a hearing here soon related to his expansion of the RV park, and that caused some concern for him. So I think those that are investing capital into the area and bringing, future employees and, quality of life comes up a lot in our world in economic development, tied to future projects and drawing employees to the area. If you look at where jails are centered around, not just the Valley, but in other states, it definitely creates a cause for concern for us to, it creates a trend of how development could come into the area. So we do have a concern about placing a facility like that in an urban renewal district where we're trying to attract investment and jobs. So that is something that Mr. Caldwell had brought up, and I know he's going to be expressing himself more as time goes on.
So, yeah, as that sets, boy, it just seems like that's a long drive for Nampa to bring everybody out there. But I think I'm going to follow up with a talk with Sheriff Donahue and get a few more particulars about that, because I just saw that come out in the paper there. Any conversation, any of that kind of conversation pertaining to that facility with people from Maverick? Have they said anything? Or are they so busy they don't know? Or, I mean, I'm sure they would know, but have they made mention to you about any negative, positive, or any type of impact to that?
Commissioner Moore, no, Maverick has not shared anything with me directly. They are based in Salt Lake. I'm not sure if they have heard the news or recognize that that's occurring, but they are moving pretty quickly on their project out there.
Yeah,
so it looks great. I know the investment is welcome for sure in the north area. I did talk to just Mr. Caldwell and another developer that is interested in the area, both of whom expressed concern about the jail facility. So we are navigating that actively. It's a challenge for us, and if it happens, so be it. But we definitely are wary of its impact over time.
Got it. Hey, thank you.
Mr. Brooks?
Mr. Chairman, I think it would be good to remind this board several different things, that the county purchased that property 20 years ago with the intention to put a jail there. Urban Renewal was obviously aware of this fact, because part of the sales pitch to the county was the fact that they would try to attract businesses that could then work with the inmates that were there in the jail as part of an employment opportunity for them. So this whole talk about trying to be surprised about a jail going somewhere that the county has owned for 20 years and tried to run 4 bonds unsuccessfully to put a jail there, I think is a bit disingenuous. Yes, the facilities are going to go there. Urban Renewal has known that for several years, and Urban Renewal still decided to include that parcel in an urban renewal area. So I don't know where else we go. I mean, this is the second time I think I've sat through an urban renewal meeting and heard this kind of discussion, like it was some big surprise that it might go in there, but this is 2 decades in the making. So I don't know, Mr. Chairman, maybe maybe we ought to be a little more upfront about it rather than kind of beating around the bush. Everybody knew that that was the plan. So, thank you.
Thanks for the comments.
Mr. Chairman, I have a committee, I have a comment to Mr.
Okay.
Brooks, Commissioner Brooks. So, I don't think anybody's springing anything on anybody. I think we all knew it. I think I was for it when it came out 20 years ago. I wasn't for the 70 million at that time, like a majority of people, but I know that the problems are getting bigger as this place grows, so the problems with it. So I don't think anybody's saying it's being sprung on anybody. I just think that at that time, it was probably a good thing because there was nothing but olive, branches and jackrabbits out there. So it seemed like a pretty good use, but now today, you take a look at it and you look at some of the people that are invested in that area and you wonder if that's a good area for it today. So that's what I'm saying, and what that project's gonna cost now, boy, that's a big project. So I think that's the concern. I think we all know that it was coming. If you didn't, you weren't paying attention to the road, but I think we all knew it was here.
Mr. Allgood?
Yeah, back to the LID thing, and Mark, I'm aware I've asked you this before, but I just need it refreshed. If we go the LID route and move forward with these south properties, and we've had some testimony about the economy or business maybe up and down, is Urban Renewal taking on any financial responsibility, liability, if we move forward with this?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Allgood, the short answer is no. The LID has to be formed by the city, and so the city would form it, and then the bonds would be sold by the city, and then the bondholders would be relying on the property owners to pay back based on a benefits-derived formula. Oftentimes, it's a per square foot price for frontage where the improvements go. But it's an obligation that attaches to the property and is paid with property taxes. That's the LID payment. And so the risk exists with, kind of between those property owners and the bond, whoever buys the bonds. But the Urban Renewal Agency, and I think neither the city, would have, financial responsibility for that debt.
Okay, I mean, I appreciate the presentation, and it sounds good. I just want to make sure that,
Yeah,
we're not.
I need to qualify what I just said, sorry. So remember that this, originally there was this idea that involved Ted Caldwell and the Luxor Group on the amphitheater. And there was a desire, or I guess an idea floated, that the agency would step in and do some frontage improvements around a portion of Chicago and Gravel Lane where they front on Ted Caldwell's property. And then that would give Ted sufficient relief to pass it along to the Luxor Group and sell that 20 acres that's kind of across the canal. I apologize that I don't have maps for you, but that is still sort of what we're working toward. So understand that if it comes together the way staff is moving on it, there would be payments that the agency would make on a portion of Ted Caldwell's participation in that LID. So there would be an obligation taken on to be under contract with Ted. But also to clarify, Stephen, that arrangement where the agency would be paying LID assessments or reimbursing Ted Caldwell would not apply to the other property owners. In fact, it would not apply to some of the other property that Ted Caldwell owns in the vicinity. He would still have to pay those LID assessments. But yeah, the agency would be taking on a portion of it. And so we're working with Rayland to make sure that we anticipate revenues over that 10-year horizon that are sufficient to satisfy that. And that section of Chicago and Gravel Lane, Rob had shared with you, I think it was in the June meeting, it was earlier in the summer, an estimate of about 800,000, somewhere in that neighborhood. So yes, there would be a portion that the agency would be responsible for if this all comes together as we're sort of conceptualizing it at this point.
And would that portion be outside the LID, be two separate plans, or?
Correct. Well, it would be, yeah, there would be it would be included in the LID. We would have a separate contract with Ted Caldwell to reimburse what he would have to pay, because it has to attach to the property and the property owner. So he'd wind up paying that and getting reimbursed. So that reimbursement portion of it would be a separate contract.
Okay. Thank you, appreciate it.
Any other questions for Stephen? Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, and Chairman, I can only be candid with my responses. I try to reserve my opinions for, myself, and ultimately, I share what others have passed on to me. So I just want to clarify with the commission, as far as that's concerned, I only share what developers share with me.
Understood.
Thank you.
Thank you. This takes us to our first item of new business. It's to consider invoices for payment as recommended by the agency treasurer. Good evening, Raylan.
Good evening, Commissioners. So we've come to the time of year where we have both fiscal year 25 and 26 invoices. So kind of go through this. $18,900 for September economic development contributions, $6,800 for the August attorney services, $256.74 for the public notice for the fiscal year 26 budget, $16,727.19 for ArchNexus for the feasibility study, and the only fiscal year 26 invoice that is on here is for $1,947.50 for the annual ICRIP insurance premium. So that will not be paid until October 1st.
Okay.
For a total of $44,631.43.
Very good. Any questions on these for Raylan? Do we have a motion as to these invoices?
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Allgood?
I move that we approve the invoices as presented.
Very good. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second?
A motion by Mr. Allgood and a second by Mr. Doty. Would the secretary call the roll, please?
Allgood?
Yes.
Doty?
Yes.
Warwick?
Yes.
Brooks?
Yes.
Cole?
Yes.
Moore?
Yes.
And next to our URA treasurer reports, the monthly cash reconciliation.
So we have both the cash reconciliation and then the financial overview. So for the north area, we received just above $2,500 in increment funds. And then from past due funds on the east area, we received $2,857.97. We had interest on LGIP and from the Banner Bank. And then for total cash remaining for both funds, it's just over $3.8 million.
Okay. Any questions for Raylan? Do we have a motion in regard to the monthly cash reconciliation?
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Doty?
make a motion that we approve the reconciliation reports.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Doty. Do we have a second?
Second.
And second by Ms. Warwick. Any discussion? Okay, would the secretary call the roll?
Doty?
Yes.
Warwick?
Yes.
Brooks?
Yes.
Cole?
Yes.
Allgood?
Yes.
Porter?
Yes.
Moore?
Yes.
Very good. That brings us to our project list.
So most of these projects are in status and we're still seeing invoices come through on them. One question I did want to ask on Project 13, that project has been closed. There's not going to be any invoices. If the commission wanted me to zero out that budget or move it, we can definitely zero it out. Right now, other than past dues, any funds that are spent on these remaining projects are coming out of operating funds and not increment unless we receive past dues. So I just wanted a recommendation that I can update this report on.
Did you say Project 13?
Project 13, or I apologize, not Project 13, Project 17. I'm reading the wrong number.
Okay.
It has a remaining budget of $3,046. But as projects come down, for example, once the wayfinding is installed, if it's less than that 107, is the intent of the commission to move that budget around or just zero it out and close out the project?
Mr. Allgood?
Just so I understand it right, Raylene, if we close this out, the money goes back to operating?
It would remain in operating, that is
Remain
correct. Yes.
Mr. Chair, that would be my motion.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Allgood and a second by Ms. Warwick. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Brings us to our economic development reports. Mr. Jenkins.
All right, back at it, Chairman, Commissioners. Thank you for allowing me to provide this report this evening. The North Caldwell area, so first one we have is Project Cabbage Patch. This is a large acreage user that's interested in Caldwell and a few other Idaho agricultural communities. This project specifically called out Caldwell in their RFI search, so that was a really good sign for us. We provided a site, so myself and Ophelia provided a site to the site selector that we feel fits their model really, really well. So this is a food processor. They're based out of state. They'd bring about 500 jobs to the area, which is a large number, as you all can tell. Again, we submitted a site that should draw their attention to the new urban renewal district. This is Project Broken Arrow. They're worried about the possibility of a jail coming to the area. And this is one, we talked a little bit about the jail as a whole, but ultimately just the congruency of that and the project as what they're bringing in. So if it's entertainment-based or if it has a family-friendly component to it, those are just security concerns and things like that that folks will bring up at times. So that's another discussion point. Discussions are still proceeding, but at a slower pace. They will continue to research the area, but put plans in place based on possible local impacts.
Steve, we have a question that came up
I have
real
a
quick.
question going back to, thank you, Chairman. Steve, and I have a question about the Project Broken Arrow. When I've heard people talk about, and I'm fairly new on this agency board, but when I see words like leery about the possibility of it, I mean, what does that mean? What are they leery about?
So this one is an entertainment-based group, and their concern specifically is that they worry about the safety component or the perception of that, putting it in close proximity to a facility like that.
But a jail is a jail. I mean, it
Yes.
houses people. It doesn't let people out. They don't have access out of there. So I guess I'm just really concerned about the language we've heard tonight about leery, and I'm concerned about this, and I'd just like to hear more specific information about that. So.
Yeah, and Commissioner Cole, I'll just clarify too. These groups will reach out to me really unprovoked. I mean, I think the media attention regarding the facility of late has provoked a lot of just commentary about it, ultimately. So this group, and I think the large investments that are coming in too, they say, hey, well, what are the development impacts as a whole? Are we going to an area that is not going to be as attractive to other users? Are we putting it in an area that's going to become desolate, or that's going to suffer from disinvestment over time because of a facility like that? So it just depends on how people look at it. Other people will look at it as a possible employer opportunity. So there's, the sheriff's office there may have, a workforce that comes out of there, and they have volunteer hours that they need, and that the facility may be an industrial group that needs the volunteerism from the sheriff's office. So it's just about the different perspectives and how they look at it. This particular group did have a concern, and I, again, just try to be as candid and authentic as I can be.
Yeah, so I would just follow up with, when they tell you something like, oh, we're leery about this, wouldn't it be maybe incumbent upon you, or it'd be, I just think it would be sort of an obligation to say, well, what are you leery about?
Mm-hmm.
What specifically are you leery about on something like this? So.
Yeah, this group, and I've worked with this group for a while, I can tell you that when you hear news like that, and then you consider your project coming in and around that area, it just makes you think twice about where you want to be located. In their particular case, and again, others may look at it differently, but in their case, they say, hey, do we really want to be here based on the draw that we're trying to create to the region?
Thank you.
Thank you. Project Horizon, we had a great conference call with this user last week. They are thoroughly reviewing the area. They are looking at 120 acres in the urban renewal district. This is one where the employee estimate is about 500 plus. They're actively pursuing a site in the Rocky Mountain region. And again, the conversation I had with them was very productive. So excited about that one. They were pleased with the annexation of the Caldwell Housing Authority in Farmway Village and having a touch to the sites of interest for them. Maverick mentioned this earlier, but construction is moving forward. They're planning to be open by the winter. This is great news for the area as a whole. Excited to see it. I drove past the other day. It looks like a Maverick now. So it's really nice to see. Several manufacturers have committed to sites in the past month. I'd say the past 30 days have been quite active in my department, so that's been a lot of fun to be a part of, and Ophelia can attest. The economy is stabilizing a little bit. I think people are just coming to grip with the overarching impacts of tariffs and things like that. There's a digestion effect that's, I think, taken place overall. So that's been exciting to see. Positive national news about Caldwell specifically has helped to put us on the radar in the minds of certain manufacturers that are trying to attract employees to our area. So that's been really positive for us. And I'll talk about a few of those positive news stories here in a second. But just going into additional updates, and I'll make this brief, guys, but August inflation rate was 2.5%. It's the lowest since February of 21. Wages are up 3.7%, so wages are rising faster than inflation. That's always a good sign in the broader economy. Census population estimates is July 1st. I received these numbers from a local broker over at Colliers who shared this with me, and I was really excited to see it. So the Idaho growth rate's 1.55% compared to the U.S. average of 0.98%. Ada County's at 1.73%, Canyon County's at 3.15%. And you guys can see that the lion's share of the growth is coming out of Caldwell, 6.37% there, which I highlighted. It's compared to Meridian at 3.26%, Boise at 0.65%, and then Nampa at 2.2%. I also looked at the in-migration numbers for per-day estimates as far as individuals coming into the city. It's about 12 for Caldwell. So that was also good to see. As you scroll down there, thank you, Emmanuel, appreciate it. So affordable housing projects, this is one I found interesting. They tend to cost more than market rate units. Of course, they are the breakdown and how money is brought in for these types of projects is interesting. So they utilize LIHTC funding through the state. So there's a lot of grant funding, and the capital stack looks a little different. But overall, the cost per unit is $800 to $1 million based on regulations, fees, complexity, all that. Pretty dramatic compared to the less than 500,000 for typical apartments. Also, a recent analysis by WallHub, they looked at several factors for different states out there and regarding the best states to live in, and you guys can see Idaho at number 2. It was based on economy, education, and healthcare, and then it ranked the top 5, as you guys can see there. So Massachusetts, Idaho, New Jersey, Wisconsin, Minnesota. Idaho is obviously the only Rocky Mountain West state that's represented there. And then scrolling down there, Move Buddha. This is one that I shared with the city council and some of our leadership, but it's a platform that helps people find moving options, moving companies that set out to where people are moving and heading to at the highest rates. This is basically, it's calculated on multiple factors, but chief among those is where cities have the highest move-in compared to move-out rates. And Idaho and Caldwell was in there. So as you go down to the next map there, Emmanuel, thanks so much. You guys can see Caldwell is at number 3. It is the only city in Idaho represented in the top 10 according to this list. And you all can see the other cities in there. Number 10, St. George, which is relatively close to us, but again, only city in Idaho was Caldwell there. I just like to mention these things because Caldwell has come such a long way since we began this journey in revitalization and seeing new investments come in. I mean, it really has been a journey for us all here in Caldwell, especially the leadership that's been a part of this story. So I commend everybody that's been a part of it and the city for coming together to help change things around and steer the ship in the right direction. And then as you scroll down a little bit more there, this is unemployment by state. The national unemployment rate is about 4.1%. I actually just checked this morning, and it's closer to 4.3%. But you guys can see Idaho's at 3.6%. Which is pretty good. Overall, you don't want to be too dramatically low, so I think 3.6 is a healthy number there for unemployment rates. South Dakota at 1.8%, that starts to get into a little bit of danger zone there. But otherwise, I think we're at a good rate, and you can see the comparison nationwide with the unemployment rates across the country. And then the last thing I have is existing homes now cost more than new ones. So you guys can see that existing homes surpassed the new home median home cost in the United States recently. And that was just a change that I thought was interesting to look at. So, and I think that's all I have. So I appreciate your time and letting me pleasuring me with the opportunity to share some of that data that I get to see each month.
Mr. Cole?
Yeah, I just want to thank you, Stephen, for, you always end on a positive note. And really appreciate that. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Other questions for Stephen? I have one for you. The new position that's opening in the Economic Development Department, how are you doing at filling that position?
Doing well, Chairman. We, of course, October 1st is when it goes live. We're looking at that position as well as a specialist role in economic development. And ultimately, yeah, I want to get that out probably around that October date timeframe. So I've actually talked to the mayor about it, but we're looking at the job descriptions, just making sure it aligns with the overarching objectives of the city. And of course, I have a perspective of that, but yeah, just tying it together with some of our leadership and making sure it's all buttoned up and ready to go by October 1st.
Okay, very good. Any other questions? Very good. Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you.
Ophelia?
Good evening, Chair, Commissioners. I think we have some great news. It's 7:06, and so I'm going to go ahead and go quickly through my update list. Here, it's very positive, like Danae said. There's just a lot of great things happening in our downtown. So I'll start with the URA downtown property, which is the one right behind the plaza, like Stephen and Mark shared during the last URA meeting. We will look at that more closely towards the beginning of next year, but we are having conversations with folks. And then I'll move on to general updates. Rob is here, but what's happening in the downtown is the Kimball Blaine Bridge project will start later this month. So there'll be construction, there'll be a fence, there'll be banners, basically directing customers, patrons of the downtown. His team is doing an amazing job. These businesses have now known for 2 years, and there's additional workshops that are tied to this project as well to give out more information to the downtown business in terms of this specific project. So again, that will take place here towards the end of the month. The construction will begin there. Like Danae mentioned, they're starting to see their numbers go up. I did participate in the Taste of Caldwell this past weekend. It was sold out. 300 plus people came to the downtown and, you know, were able to taste from the different restaurants. A lot of people that were down there were not from our community. Danae will be pulling numbers in on Tuesday, and I'm happy to forward those numbers to you all. But our restaurants were very happy to see new customers come through, and hopefully those will turn to patrons that will continue to patronize our downtown. Recently, we had some businesses open. White Horse Saloon, if you guys have not been in there, it's at 815 Arthur Street. The community has welcomed them with open arms. So if you haven't been out there, please make sure to stop in and say hello to those folks. We also had Boise Fried that just opened this past weekend. They're in the former Soda Mix building there on Cleveland. We're happy to have them here in our community as well. I think they'll do great here. Upcoming, we do have the Griddle. They will be open towards the end of September. They were hoping to be open for mid-month, but unfortunately they had to push that out. So again, towards the end of the month. And then Nara Ramen, still in process there. They're still working on that building. It's coming along great. And then we have Bubbly Facial Bar, who's doing a ribbon cutting September 18th at noon, and they're located at 616 Main Street, Suite 105. So hopefully you can all make it to that ribbon cutting. But again, a lot of positive things happening in our downtown, so I will stand for any questions.
Thanks, Ophelia.
Yep.
Any questions? Mr. Moore?
Mr. Chairman, Ophelia, thanks for coming and thanks for the update. So I'm surprised every time I get an email update from the Caldwell City Chamber on a ribbon cutting. You know, it's amazing to see how many more. I think I just agreed to go to 3 of them here in the next 60 days, or excuse me, 30 days.
Yeah.
So it's really neat. And then it's great to see you at Coffee Connect, that last one. Gosh, we had, what, over 60 people?
Yeah, for sure now.
You're talking to people, you're getting to know those people, you're cultivating those relationships. I like that. I think that's a big part of your guys' department, and I appreciate you showing up to those ribbon cuttings. I did not see you guys at the ribbon cutting for the rodeo, for the new announcer's podium. I didn't see you guys there, but
Yeah.
everybody else in town was there, right?
Yeah. Yep.
But it's nice to see you there, and I appreciate your footwork and your being a foot soldier for those businesses that come in and establishing those relationships. So I admire that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for those comments. Appreciate them.
Any other questions? Thanks, Ophelia.
Thank you.
Okay, we're on the home stretch. Brings us to our attorney reports. Welcome, Mr. Hilty.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, Commissioners. Three quick reports. On the Site B, Lee Jenke site, I think as probably most of you are aware, that was approved by the City Council. The ordinance passed on August 18, so that has been formed. There is some follow-on administrative stuff that is underway right now. I think there's a 30-day process for transferring the ordinance to the tax commission, and there's a 30-day, I think, protest period that we're sort of working through. But the next step there of substance is a TIF agreement with Mr. Jenke, which I think you can anticipate seeing on the agenda for the October meeting. Similarly, with the central project area, this needs to be, and again, this isn't a task for the agency, but just so you're aware, the City Council needs to form that by the end of the year in order to capture that look back to January 1 of 2025 for the base assessment roll. And so we're on track to do that. As Adam shared tonight, if that feasibility study is done by the end of September, we probably will try to put a plan, of course it's a draft plan to begin with, try to get that together and have that also on your agenda. And as you'll recall from going through the Lee Jenke site, the agency sort of accepts that and then instructs staff to start the processing with the City Council and the Planning and Zoning Commission. So I think we're on target to get that done by the end of the year, but we're getting to the point where we need to start having some formal action on it. And so we're headed that direction at the next agency meeting. Last thing I have, this is an issue that's been sort of asleep for a while. It has to do with the county's handling of tax penalties and interest as it pertains to calculating the increment. We learned, it's been a while ago now, that the county had not been paying a proportionate share of tax penalties and interest over to the agency along with the rest of the increment. So if a property falls delinquent, in order to bring that property current, somebody has to pay penalties and interest. It was our position, and I had done some legal work, and I think probably even shared this with the agency, that really ought to have been all along paid over to the agency as part of the increment. I raised this issue with Zach Wesley, the attorney for the county, and there was a couple things since it first came up. One, I think there was a legislative effort to try to legitimize what was going on. My understanding is that was unsuccessful. Then there was a lawsuit. It was not directly on point, but it was related. Kootenai County was engaging in that practice, not with respect to calculating urban renewal increment, but how they paid over taxes to other taxing districts, highway districts and cities in particular. They were keeping tax penalties and interest on the delinquencies and not accounting for it, paying it over. That resulted in litigation that moved extremely slowly through the courts. I shouldn't say that. I think it moved quickly through the district court. It moved very slowly for some reason through the Supreme Court. But the decision came out about 2 months, in July. And the holding was, and it was kind of it's a boring case to read because it's heavily dependent on the exact language of statutes. If you're chuckling, if you want to, if you can't fall asleep some night, I'll email it to you and you can read through it. But basically, it had to do with the definition of what is a tax and how are the taxes handled, what constitutes the taxes that need to be paid over, and where does the delinquency, interest, and penalties fit within those definitions. And they pulled from different statutes and talked about statutory construction rules, but ultimately came up with the fact that the delinquent interest and penalties are taxes, and they need to be accounted for as taxes, and a proportionate share of those needs to be paid over to the taxing districts, where those delinquencies arise. So we think I think that holding is fairly on point. And so I've raised the issue again with Mr. Wesley. He is going to be looking at the case and getting back to us. So that's another issue we'll start pushing and monitoring now that we have the decision from the court. Mr. Chairman, that's my report for the evening, and I'll stand for questions.
My first question is, how long have you been watching that case? Has it been 2 years?
It's been 2 years. I don't remember exactly when, but it worked through the district court, and then for some reason, it was on the Supreme Court docket forever.
Well, thanks for following through with that.
Some of that might have been the legislation. I can't remember where that fit in, but that might have, depending on how it came out, rendered the case moot.
Yeah.
They sometimes will wait for the legislative process to run its course if it's pending, so.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Hogan?
Yeah, Mark, part of our issue with this whole situation was accounting, knowing how much we're talking about, whether it's $50 or $50,000 or whatever. Has that portion of that been resolved?
Yes and no. So we looked at it with the east area, right, which was still existing at the time that we became aware of this issue, I think, although it was very nearly closed out. I don't think we ever had a solid accounting. Ray Lynn did an estimate, but we never had a solid accounting for it under that 25-year east area. It has been on the radar, and my understanding is the county is accounting for it. I'm not sure they paid it over. Okay, but they have been, they do understand that we're all looking at this issue, and we had an exchange of correspondence. Again, it goes back a couple of years, but part of that was, let's just keep doing what we're doing and see what happens with this case. So I think there has been.
The big thing is, we just need to know how much money we're talking about. I don't have any idea how many delinquent properties pop up in a year, but just having some number would be.
Yeah, it's likely to be relatively small at this point because the increment coming out of the north area is relatively small. And so it's one of those issues that probably there's not a ton of dollars at issue right now, but during the 20-year life of that north area, it could be very significant.
Mr. Moore?
Mr. Chairman, Mark, thanks for bringing this up. Gosh, I think I first heard it when I came on in '21. So the amount of time and resource that's been discussed on this subject, it's almost like there needs to be a category for that on top of how much increment or how far back we're going to go. Yeah, it would be nice to see that this discussion would be just mutually agreed upon and given to Ray Lynn and a check cut.
So I don't know exactly how much penalty and interest is actually charged, but just to give an update on like last year's past dues of what was just for the north area. For tax year 2022, last year there was 17,000 still outstanding, and then this for 2023 tax year, there's 28,000 outstanding still that had not been paid in increment to the north area. So it'd be a very small percentage on that amount.
Yeah, and I wonder how much time we're having to, and how much time the county spends. It just seems like it might be just, well enough to say, hey, in the private world, we just write it off. But going forward, I'm sure we need some sort of clarification. So thank you for bringing that up.
Any other questions for Mr. Hilty? Thank you, Mark. Thanks. Brings us to our commissioner reports. Mr. Doty?
I'd just like to recognize Mr. Hilty's service to the city of Caldwell, and sometimes it's confusing since he's standing here for us, but we recognized him at the last city council meeting and appreciate his service to the city.
Ms. Warwick?
I'd just like to officially welcome Christina as our new secretary, officially now. And so glad Ray Lynn was reappointed as our treasurer. You do a fabulous, fabulous job. And just kind of one thing for Caldwell Meals on Wheels, Wednesday will be our 50th anniversary in Caldwell. We're having a luncheon to honor all of our volunteers, and we've got the original coordinator who started in 1975 is still around. She's 89 years old, and she will be at our luncheon as well. And so I'm really excited about that. It's a real milestone.
Great. Mr. Brooks? Nothing tonight. Mr. Cole?
Yeah, the only thing I would say is our next meeting is scheduled for October 13th. That's Columbus Day. Do we have any issues with that at all? Or, I mean, I don't have any issues with it, but.
I apologize.
The next meeting is scheduled for Columbus Day.
Is the city open or closed, or?
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Mr. Allgood?
Nothing, sir, thank you.
Mr. Moore?
You know, two people are gonna step down at Dakin there, the Carricks, Alan and Lisa, and they've been a big, important part of my life with my family. And my dad, his dad were best friends, and it's gonna be kind of different to drive by there not knowing that they're not gonna be there, so I wish them luck in their endeavors. And thank you to these three. Thank you for 30 years, and thank you guys for coming here and putting up with my questions and all your due diligence, so thank you very much.
Thanks, Mr. Moore. Just real quickly, just want to remind you of the importance of this neighborhood meeting with ArchNexus on the 25th. I don't know how it's going to shake out between this candidates forum and this evening, but the two neighborhood meetings that I've been attending have just been outstanding, and people have been listened to. And when people are listened to, that builds a sense of excitement and a little bit more of a can-do attitude. So if we can be there to observe that and to kind of see firsthand what the sense of goodwill is out there toward this part of our community, I think it would be really helpful. And also, I was here last Monday night or Wednesday night, excuse me, with the city council meeting, and I have just been struck ever since with the kindness that Mr. Hilty dealt with his situation. And the city honored him, and Mark, it was brilliant. I would like you to do my eulogy when that happens. I mean, it was, I know many of us were here, but Mark spoke so eloquently and so graciously of his love for the city and how well he'd been treated, and looking forward that they had a good man in Oscar Klaus. That was just extraordinary. So thank you, Mark. I learned a big lesson that night, and I really do thank you. And with that, we will stand for adjournment. Let's go.